VHS Files contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime. It's showtime.
Welcome to the VHS Files Podcast with Jenny Lou,
So what do you want to do tonight?
Jason,
What about pizza and movie night?
Eric,
I want to rent a movie.
and Josh.
I want to go to a good video store so I can get a good movie.
And this is the movie of the week.
Let's get this pizza movie night started.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight?
Great!
Fantastic, sir.
Good, and I don't want to be rude, but I'm not much of a conversationalist.
Just wanted to put a few things out there before we get started with the movie this week. Some social media changes have happened with us, so if anybody is following us on social media, we are now at VHS Files Podcast on every platform. So applause for me not having to worry about having to deal with 7 different usernames anymore. So makes it easier for me and easier for everybody else to find us. So if you're looking for us at VHS Files Podcast, you should find us on any platform. And our email has also changed. It's now vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com. So that will all be updated.
Keep it simple.
That will all be updated in the bumpers at the end of the show. So, but just want to put that out there for everybody. So,
The movie of the week.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
Released on November 25th, 1987. It was directed by John Hughes, writer
Who's that
of...
guy?
He wrote the National Lampoon movies, Mr.
think I've heard of that one.
Mom,
Maybe.
and then directed some movies you might have heard of. 16 Candles, which I just watched for the first time last night.
Wow.
The Breakfast
Oh my
Club,
God.
Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If it was a comedy, a school comedy or a family comedy in the 80s, it was probably directed by John Hughes. Or written by him. It was probably written by him for sure. So,
or all three, directed, produced, and written.
right.
He did it all.
And it's funny, we're coming up into Christmas season, and there's, I think, a couple of movies in there that we're going to be revisiting John Hughes again.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be a popular man in this podcast, I think.
So we're giving up Corey Feldman for John Hughes now?
Well, now we're going to get into other actors that we're going to start seeing over and over again.
Very true. Very, very true.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles had a budget of $30 million, did a box office of $49.5 million, so it made its money back and a little bit more. It wasn't the biggest thing in the world. It was released amongst the likes of Less Than Zero, early Robert Downey Jr. film, Cherry 2000, The Running Man, Teen Wolf 2,
Oh.
and the biggest movie of the year, 3 Men and a Baby, which I think Eric mentioned in one of our Back in Times at some point.
I did.
Speaking of which, Eric, take us back in time to 1987 again.
We're sending you back in time.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, this is our third film from 1987, making it increasingly difficult to write these. 1980.
You can do it, buddy.
Well, I'll try.
Keep you on your toes.
1987 gave us the famous anti-drug commercial with the frying of the egg. So the drugs are the frying pan, and your brain is the egg frying.
Yep. This is your brain.
Yeah.
This is your
And
brain.
I always,
brain on
when I saw
drugs.
that, it just looked good.
Any questions?
It's like a good looking egg. Like, that looks delicious.
Our drugs
So
sunny
my
side up?
brain on drugs is
Drugs.
breakfast?
Yeah, that one didn't click with me. But
I don't like eggs, so.
also, Mr. T angered the fine people of Chicago suburb Lake Forest by cutting down more than 100 oak trees on his estate. The incident was called the Lake Forest Chainsaw Massacre. Apparently, it was an effort to help his allergies. So it was sold in 2009, and the new owners planted over 150 mature trees on the grounds. So that's all worked out. And finally, the original Keyboard Cat video that was featured in that viral video of Keyboard Cat was filmed in 1987. And yeah.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry. Well, whatever.
We don't care
Making
about
up my own
facts
This
here.
is an approximation. It was actually shot in 84, but the cat died in 87. Anyway,
Oh.
it has over 60 million views. Hit it, Josh.
Now it has over 60 million and one.
I can't believe this is from 1984.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That cat's really digging it, dude. Look at him, he's feeling it, dude. He feels what he writes
Yeah.
with his heart.
Yeah. All right, that's enough.
And moving on from the kitty.
All right, well, we're going to get into Planes, Trains, and Automobiles here, starring Steve Martin and John Candy. We're going to play the trailer, so here you go.
During holiday travel, some people get delirious. Some get delayed.
Everybody. Right.
And some get Del Griffin.
American Light and Fixture, Director of Sales, Shower Curtain Ring Division.
Neil Page got all three.
I was on my way home to spend a nice holiday with my family. Instead, I'm in a motel bed with a stranger.
So instead of Thanksgiving with his family, he's spending 3 days with
That
the
pizza
turkey.
shot isn't in the film.
I'm going to talk about that.
Two happy clams just whistling down the road.
Neither is this.
Nope.
Meet the Flintstones and the Marconi family.
Paramount Pictures presents
Wilma!
Steve Martin,
Ever been to Hawaii? Yeah. You see Don Ho while you were there?
See the second show. That's the best one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
John Candy,
Hallelujah.
Neither
Why
is
are you
this.
holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows.
Pillows.
Those aren't pillows.
in a new film by John Hughes. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
See that Bears game last week? Yeah, hell of a game. Hell of a game.
Manly, baseball, football, yes. No homosexuality in this bedroom.
Does anybody have any fond memories of childhood viewings of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Jenny?
I did not see this movie until I was an adult.
Same here. I think you and I saw it for the first time together.
Which is strange because I saw a lot of Steve Martin and John Candy movies when I was younger, and I think it might have to do with one particular scene in this movie that my parents would be not so happy for me to hear.
Right.
Involving a budget rental car lady.
Jason, how about you? When was your first viewing in this?
My first sit down full viewing of this movie was at about 2:30 p.m. today.
Wow.
Now, as far as it being on TV, yes, it's another one of those TBS TNT Turner movie things that would seem like it's on every holidays about this time. They play it, but I had never sat down to watch it because I love Steve Martin, I love John Candy, but it's like I liked them in their movies, and it just something about this never caught me the way like Uncle Buck or The Jerk or Roxanne or anything like that did. You know, it's just I never sat down. It seemed a little adult for me as a kid because the humor was more adult than like Uncle Buck because there's kids involved in those movies. But my first sit down full viewing was today from beginning to end. So,
Eric, how about you?
It was one that I remember seeing as a kid. I don't remember the first time, but I remember my parents liking it. And yeah, like Jason said, I think it was maybe one that the parents liked, not so much for the kids. But I've seen it a lot over the years. It's one of my favorite kind of classic holiday movies, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's it's in the same vein as like, even though Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a high school movie, it seems a little more adult than some of his other stuff would be, and I think this kind of falls into that as well. Yeah. Well, even after watching 16 Candles last night, like John Hughes didn't always have the most family friendly stuff, because there were things I saw in 16 Candles last night that I was like, holy crap, this is a John Hughes movie. But that was before Breakfast Club and before he went into family film stuff. That was really his early 80s stuff. the thing that strikes me about this movie is, I mean, there's no real kids to follow in this, so it's not one that we probably would have been interested in at that age. Even though I don't know what came out first, this or Three Amigos, but I loved Steve Martin and Chevy Chase and Martin Short in Three Amigos, so I don't know why I wouldn't have loved this.
Yeah, but that humor was different than this humor.
It is a little more slapsticky than this is more like a family drama sort of style. Like it's even though it's funny, it's got its serious undertones to it.
Yeah, Three Amigos was more almost like a modern Three Stooges, pretty much, because they were all really kind of stooges. They weren't very bright people in that movie.
Yeah, this is based more in a reality.
Yeah, this definitely more, like I said, more adult-based humor.
Some of it's based in a reality.
Yeah, more of a reality, not complete reality.
But we get into the opening of this movie, and I didn't remember this from the first viewing and whatnot, but I had to check the volume because I thought we had it muted. Like the beginning of this movie is so silent.
Dude, that boss sitting there, like almost saying something, and then almost say, and then like they do it, and then he just sits back down. You know, hilarious. Like the tension was crazy just watching that.
I'm watching that. Like I said, this is my first sit down full viewing this, and I'd never seen this scene in all the other times it had been on TV. And I'm literally wanting to strangle this fucking guy. When you fucking say, I can feel Steve Martin or his character Neil's anger and anxiety building because he's got to get to the airport by 6 o'clock. And I'm like, just kill the old man and just walk out.
It's like a legitimately tense scene for as funny as it is. And it, you know, they push it when you push a joke over the edge and it's not funny, but then you push it like a couple more times and it gets funny again.
I have to say that this, being the fan of Steve Martin that I am, you know, I didn't see Parenthood when I was younger, or this, or any of his more serious stuff. But I was going to say, like, he's very grumpy in this, and I don't remember Steve Martin being that grumpy character. But then I had to think back to like Father of the Bride, where he's a lot more quirky in that, but he's still very uptight.
But I mean, he's grumpy for a reason.
Yeah,
he's legitimately a jerk in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, that was
jerk.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I have a note. I was like, wow, he's actually like meaner than I remember.
Yeah, I didn't remember him being so crabby and just like almost unlikable from the get-go.
No,
there's a scene later in the movie. Like I said, first sit down watch, I was like, you're a fucking dick, Steve Martin.
Yeah.
There's a scene later.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, I'm like, okay, I don't like Steve Martin. I know you're a great banjo player, but dude, I really kind of wanted to hate Steve Martin later in the movie.
I did want to ask everybody, do you remember Steve Martin looking any different than he does in this or now? Like,
no.
Has Steve Martin ever looked different than he always looks? Like,
he had a little gray, but he always had that white. And now the gray is completely gone. Now it is just white.
I just don't. My memory of Steve Martin is and will always be white-haired, middle-aged Steve Martin. Like, and he embraced it, and he still looks that way today. I mean, you can see age in his face a little bit more, but I mean, he's just one of those guys that never changed for me. Like he's always been Steve Martin.
It's like Patrick Stewart. He went bald young, so he always looks like about the same age. You know what I mean? Well, we watched Parenthood recently, and I think he says in that movie that he's like 35, which is hilarious. I was like, oh, whoa, like what?
No,
I can't remember the exact age, but it was like, no way, dude. He's definitely older than that, you know?
Let's see. We need a fact checker. How old is Steve Martin right now?
He's 75 now.
Wow.
So I don't know how old that would have put him in 87, but I can't do math that fast.
Doing that. Yeah.
Born in 1940.
33.
33 when he made this.
Is that right?
No.
Is that right?
The VHS Files attempts to do math.
2020. I'm using a calculator now.
Well, that's the thing.
Minus 1987 equals 33.
He was younger
No,
than
that-
I am now.
Yeah.
When he made
Same.
this movie.
No, wait. You got to do 75 minus 33.
Yes.
Oh yeah. No, I have to do. What the hell is going on? Okay, so it's 1987 minus, when was his birth year?
46.
No, just do 75 minus 33.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do.
It's
is 75
not that
minus
hard.
33.
He was 41. He was 41 in the movie.
So he's a year older than I am now.
Yeah, and he's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So has anybody been this has anybody been this ready to leave work and like get home?
Definitely.
Like so much so that you'd pay $75 to
For a
take
cab.
someone's cab from them?
Well, has anybody ever been this late to the airport
Well,
on,
I mean,
Thanksgiving week?
But the
it
main
just kind
thing,
of shows how crabby Steve Martin is about all this because his friend tells him, "You'll never make the 6."
oh yes, I will.
Yeah.
But they make it like it's interchangeable. Like, you should go on the 8 with me or whatever. Like,
But you
yeah,
probably
air
could do
travel,
that.
or just exchange it. It's not like it's busy or anything.
Well, I think, he's got his sort of underlying problem of he's trying to do everything at work and be with the family. And clearly, I think he's got some issues with his wife and his work life not meshing so
Yeah.
well. And he's overreached. So now he's trying to save his ass with his wife, I think, is a big part of it.
Yeah, and the fact
Yeah.
that he's working in New York and he's got to get home to Chicago. Is that like a
Do you think he
weekly
works
thing?
there full time? Yeah, that was my question.
I almost wonder if he's like gone for the week and then he goes home
Yeah.
on weekends.
Now, I kind of imagine maybe it was either a client or maybe he worked at a firm that had multiple offices.
Yeah, I thought
He
it was
had to,
just like a
maybe-
big meeting.
Yeah, like not
But
something
he
he
had
would
to
go
have
to
it,
all the time, but
Yeah.
And then it just happens to be Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
days before Thanksgiving. But hey, let's not miss the point when he goes to get the cab. Who steals his first cab? Fucking Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. What a weird spot for Kevin
a-
Bacon to be.
That's the
Yeah.
only
In a-
part he's in the whole movie.
In a
is-
non-speaking role for
yeah,
Kevin Bacon. Like he was Kevin Bacon at this point.
yeah.
Like,
He'd already
Yeah.
done Footloose.
yeah. And I'm going to get into this now because I'll probably make references to it as we go forward. But this movie was originally a lot longer
3 hours.
and they had to cut it way down.
I'm glad they
Um,
did. I love the length of it.
Well, and that's, I would have to give credit to a YouTube video that I watched, and I'll have to insert the credit at the end of the show. But he kind of does a breakdown of all this stuff that was cut from the movie. And he says the film is perfect as it is. But to know that there's all this footage out there that was cut that could have potentially made the movie funnier is mind blowing.
Or almost
And
getting
he's-
like a sequel, or a prequel, or like a duringquel where you get to see other scenes,
Well, the runtime on this is actually shorter than the amount of footage they had to cut from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
There-
like they cut more out of the movie than they actually put out to
And can you get this?
They said
No.
it's out there, but they haven't made it available yet. But the length of the actual film shot was 600,000 feet long for this movie.
I don't know how that relates. I have no
That's-
frame of reference. Is that long? That
Well, they're
seems
just
long.
saying, but they're
Yeah.
saying it like you figure, well, the movie's over 3 hours long, and they had a budget of so and so amount, and they were getting on to him for how long he kept shooting and shooting and shooting. But I guess that's to be that they put that out there in the notes. That must be a crazy amount of film used for this movie.
From what I understand, the only footage that's been released to the public and that is made that anyone has seen is a deleted scene that's on a special edition of the Blu-ray for when they're on the plane. But he talks about scenes in the shooting script that were scenes that he thinks some of it was filmed, some of it was not. But he knows for a fact that a lot of it was in the scripts that were originally out there, and some of it makes things make more sense. Which is weird because viewing this movie and not knowing that information, I would have never thought that anything it could have interjected to these things to make them to make them flow better.
Yeah, everything.
Like I think the movie the movie is edited in a way where it just works.
Nothing feels missing.
Right. And it's not till you get, and we get a lot of this today with newer movies. It's not till you watch like the trailer that they released for this and you're seeing scenes that you're like, well, wait, that's not in the movie.
Yeah.
They do that a lot now. They'll cut trailers with scenes that end up getting cut from the final film. And then it ultimately, in some cases, Rogue One pissed some people off because there's a pretty killer shot in the trailer for Rogue One that never made it into the final cut of the film.
I remember that one.
I do like the second guy that he buys the taxi from for $75 is the lawyer. And he goes, "Can I appeal to your good nature?" He says, "I don't have a good nature." So how much are you willing to pay for this cab?
Did he say something like he's like a thief or something? He said, "Well, I'm a lawyer."
Yeah. But one thing I want to note that continues on throughout the entire movie is anytime Steve Martin's running is hilarious.
It's a ridiculous run. It's so funny.
Well, and to add to it is the awkwardness of carrying the briefcase and the bag. But every time I see him run, I just start cracking up in this movie because he's just got this weird, lanky, like almost like he lifts everything he's got to run, almost like a cartoon, you know?
That's how he was in The Jerk too. When he was like animated running. That's how he was, and it was so funny. But the thing I noticed, like watching this, is like when he tries to get to the cab, he trips over the case, and it has Dale Griffith on there, and you notice, like, first full watch is like, okay, well, who's the Dale guy, and he's zooming in on that, and you're like, this is going to be important. When he gets to the other taxi, you kind of notice somebody loading in behind them while he's trying to pay the guy. You're like, what the hell's going on here? And then he takes off.
It moves through that very fast. If you blink, you'll miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like you got to pay attention. It's like a horror movie where you got to look in the peripheral. Don't look at the two that are actually talking. There's stuff going on back here. You're like, what the hell? There's somebody loading up in the cab and taking off without him.
And when he actually catches up to the cab and smacks on the window, and that face that John Candy makes.
It's so good. He's just so unaware of anything around him.
Yeah.
And he's so lovable.
He is.
Well, Jenny and I were talking about that. I mean, has John Candy ever been in a role where he wasn't the best? Like, and I'm not trying to say he was the best comedian or whatever, but I'm saying like he wasn't at least likable. He was always a likable character. And like I cannot think of any movie I've seen John Candy in where I was like, oh man, his character. Ugh. I mean, even in this, even though if I were Steve Martin in this movie, I would have strangled him. I still love his character. He's a wholesome character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. I'm looking through his IMDb right now, but I'm trying to think, did he ever play a villain or anything like that? But I don't think so.
If he did, it was probably comedic.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably some comedic performance that was he in. I don't know if he was in Nothing But Trouble. I want to say he was.
Yeah, he was the sheriff.
Yeah. He's the son.
The daughter.
Yeah, the sheriff.
It's been a long time. And my childhood memory.
That's a good
My
movie,
childhood
dude.
memories of Nothing But Trouble are this movie is the worst thing I've ever seen.
It got funnier with age, for sure.
And
I thought it was hilarious as a kid. I mean, the dick nose.
I hated
I didn't know it was a dick nose when I was little. I was just like, his nose is real ugly.
Dude, you had the Humpty dance going on. Man, it's great.
That movie, like everything about watching, like all the scenes in that movie and watching that movie when I was a kid somehow just annoyed me. I didn't like anything about it when I was younger, but watching it as an adult, I mean, it's very relative, like to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's
definitely,
it kind of is.
Eric posted a question on our Twitter last week about what isn't a horror movie but feels like one, and a lot of people came up with different responses.
I think someone did.
I think somebody said. I think somebody said Nothing But Trouble.
It does follow,
which I
the
thought
formula.
was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We get on the plane with, and he's bitching because he doesn't have a first class seat, which again doesn't really put you on his side.
Right.
Like he should really just be lucky that he's on the plane at all.
Yep.
But lo and behold, he's sat next. I mean, he already ran into John Candy waiting to get on the plane, and now he's sat right next to him on the plane. The level of coincidence in this movie.
Oh yeah, fate binds them. Yes.
And he's already mad at him because he's already accused him of stealing his cab and everything. They already had the exchange there while waiting to get on there. So he's already kind of got this animosity against Dylan.
And watching this plane scene in the COVID age is a complete nightmare. The old man, coughs in his face. But you don't take your shoes off on a plane. Come on.
Oh,
Socks.
no. Dude. The socks.
I mean, that is inconsiderate.
That's bad.
Wholesome or not.
I love it when he pulls a sock out and starts flinging it. Yeah, have some dead skin.
No, I mean, like, if you slide your shoes off on a plane, like, I could be, that's forgivable. But yeah, taking the socks off and airing yourself out, not the best place in the world.
I mean, he's not perfect.
But even though he's not perfect, he's still lovable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's annoying as shit.
Even though
he's good where
in
it
reality, I'm Steve Martin in this movie.
Right.
Like,
I think I'm Steve Martin in this movie also.
I could not handle it.
Yeah. I think we're all Steve Martin. You know, like
even though Jason claims that I look like John Candy and am John Candy reincarnate, but
and it's not because everybody says, "Oh, it's Josh will tell you, well, it's because I'm a big guy." And I'm like, no, it's here
in your
face,
heart,
not the rest of you. The face, and in the way he acts, I'm like, he's John Candy.
But when anybody has told any of you that you look like someone, do you ever find the relativity there?
No.
Nobody ever tells me that I look like anybody.
Well, Eric, for instance, I've told him before that I think he looks like Matt Damon.
No, I know a guy that does look like Matt Damon, and if you saw him, you go, Eric doesn't look like Matt Damon at all.
And Josh used to holler at me when I was playing in a different band than him of who I used to look like, and then I've actually been told that several times, even by an ex-wife. What was it you said?
Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC.
Yeah, Chris Kirkpatrick.
But there's no denying that. Like, you can't even deny that. You look like that guy.
No, I looked him up. I mean, when he didn't have the dreads and he went to the shorter, spiky haircut, because I kind of had it at one time, I was like, okay, I see it. I'm the old guy in NSYNC, because I think he is the old guy in NSYNC. So, of all of them, because the X was a big NSYNC.
I've heard a lot of Opie as well.
Bye, bye, bye.
Opie?
Yeah, well, because you're
the red hair.
you know, you're ginger, so everybody throws that at
you. You don't look like Ron.
I don't see the
When I
Opie.
was a
I don't
kid.
see Ron Howard. Oh, we need to throw up baby pictures of everybody in the VHS files.
Let's do it.
That's one thing I'm glad you said that, though, but that is one thing I want to bring up that I haven't been sticking to, and I kind of want to keep it level with the audience. I'm going to start posting the clips that we talk about on the show on our YouTube and whatnot. So if we start talking about a scene, that'll be there for viewing. If anybody is confused about what we're looking at, we'll start posting the videos that we're pulling clips from.
Sounds good.
Cool.
So
$6 and my right nut
Sounds
says
good.
we're not landing in Chicago.
And it's funny, he's like asleep, and I thought he was dreaming or something when he said it. And I'm like, and I found out something cool about that shot with the plane. That is a reused shot from Airplane.
Oh, really?
That's a great little factoid.
And Steve Martin is so stubborn to think that he can figure his own way out. It's like, I mean, even though you don't like this guy, he's telling you what you need to be listening to right now. I don't know if I would have been like Steve Martin in that situation and tried to figure it out on my own, or if I would have actually taken him up on his offer for the hotel and all that stuff. Like, it's a weird situation.
For me, I never would have.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, going with someone you've never met somewhere, but the way they lay it out, I think he gets kind of, he only agrees to take a cab to a hotel at first,
Right.
Share a cab. And then, the cabbie goes a weird way, and, you end up there and there's only one room, and there's been a confusion, and they just booked the same room together, and all these things kind of just push him into that, he's just a little past his comfort zone each time until he's, sharing a bed with a complete stranger.
All right. Well, I got a question about the whole flight thing. All right. They're leaving New York to Chicago. It gets rerouted because of the storm. Okay, on a map, do you know what is in between Chicago and Wichita, Kansas? There is a whole nother state. I mean, it goes from up here across, I think, Iowa and another state all the way to Wichita, which is almost just north of Oklahoma. And I'm like, that makes no sense to me. There are so many other airports.
Big ass storm.
I never really thought about
about
the map logistics.
I thought about that. Yes, I'm like, Chicago's here, Wichita's here. That's a good drive, or even a flight in its own.
But
to do, and I was like, that makes
honestly,
sense.
with the comedy that ensues from it, I don't care. Just
yeah, it basically turns into a road trip movie with two guys who don't really know each other and don't like each other, and then cuddle and all this other good stuff.
But yeah, I mean, Steve Martin is assuming that a lot of this stuff is happening too, because I don't think Del ever really says, I'll get you your own room or anything like that. He's just offering to help. So help.
Yeah, he's a very helpful guy.
Anything. Help is putting you in a hotel room, even if that means you got to sleep in the bed next to me. Like,
yeah, Del didn't want to share a room.
Right.
He wanted to get 2 rooms. Yeah.
But who didn't like Doobie's Taxiola? Dude, hydraulics on a taxi with the little dingleberries and the crushed velvet.
Dingleberries.
Come on.
I
call them little dingleberries.
And honestly, it just reminded me of the Love Machine from Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Love Up in Smoke.
Good thing, but Del knows everybody everywhere they go because he sells them shower curtains.
This is the weirdest
everywhere
thing,
they
man.
go.
Such a prolific business.
Am I missing out on that? Maybe I should get into the shower curtain ring business?
Seems
like it
niche
can benefit
market.
You later.
Definitely.
What I love the most about it, though, is he pulls out his little wallet and flips out with the little bitty. It is hilarious.
So
And we find out later there are multiple uses.
And he's actually a good salesman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is. He's good.
Now, did anybody ever stay in a hotel that had one of these vibrating beds?
I did. They're cool.
I've never have. That's pretty funny. I always remember seeing those in movies and wanting to experience one, but never have, unfortunately.
The thing is will it make a beer explode? Like if you put that on your bed?
Apparently.
Because that's what we get into later is that he's talking about, I'm sorry about that. And I'm like, what is he talking about? He says, well, if you leave a beer on a vibrating bed, it will explode or something like that. And then he's having to lay in.
Yeah, but before that, we get the shower scene, which I want to talk about because one thing, rewatching these movies, with a critical eye and that kind of stuff, this movie looks really good. And this scene is a great example. Like,
it does.
The way it's shot, the cinematography is great. Like, it's one of the best looking movies we've watched for this show, I think. The cinematographer is Donald Peterman, which I didn't know, but he did cinematographer for Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and Flashdance, and Men in Black. He was nominated for a couple Oscars. Point Break as well.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I just love the shots in the bathroom of, his feet stepping on like the islands of and just the neon light and just when he's looking in the mirror, that kind of stuff. I love that and that scene is so gross. He gets the tiny towel.
That's almost like a scene from a horror movie.
It is,
in a way.
Right.
And it's so interesting though because Del is this warm, friendly, a little bit out of touch guy, but I don't think that if you knew that you were sharing a hotel room with another person and you were the kind of character I think he is, that you would use all the towels.
Well, I mean,
all of them.
And throw them on the
it's
floor.
just like the socks on the plane. He's completely has no self-awareness. I guess he's been pretty lonely for a long time. Maybe he's just not used to being around other people.
Well, that's the thing. Like he's road worn at this point. This is what he does all the time. Although anybody would be aware that you've invited this person to stay with you in this time of whatever, but he still proceeds to go in the bathroom while he's showering and use all the towels and clean his socks. And
that is one little
weird to me.
That is one little continuity problem.
Continuity.
Continuity.
'Cause he says-
Josh's word.
I do love that line. He says, "Do you want to take a shower?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "No, do you want to go first?" But he says he's going to go first, and it looks like Dell's already showered. Like, I don't know.
Being that we're talking about this is one of the scenes that was chopped way down. And some of the specifics of this are apparently a lot goes on while Steve Martin's taking a shower and stuff. A lot of the scenes that
like
were
a whole
cut
sequence.
from that. Yeah,
I see.
One of them being a pizza delivery guy comes, and Dell either can't find his wallet or doesn't have the money to cover it or something, but he goes into Steve Martin's wallet and pays for the pizza with Steve Martin's money. And the pizza delivery guy is the kid who breaks into their hotel room and steals their money because John Candy only tips him $1. So he comes back that night and robs them.
Well, that means so now we got a little bit of a dick move by John Candy or Dell. He only tipped the guy.
Yeah.
How much was a pizza in 1987?
I'm not sure.
Fact checker.
That's where you get while we were watching the trailer, that's what Eric mentioned. The scene with the pizza is not in the movie.
Yeah.
That's what it's part of the cut scenes that were.
I think a lot of us can relate to bad travel experiences, right? Times where you've had to, things have messed up or things been late or things have been canceled or, you're trying to get to your hotel or like, that's part of the magic of this film is it's so relatable. They're not climbing a mountain, doing something fantastical. It's stuff that a lot of us have been through from time to time, except all at once, like everything that could ever go wrong all on one trip.
And I am never more comfortable than when I'm in my own bed. So like, again, I'm Steve Martin in this scenario. Just, I'm going to be uncomfortable no matter what. And then you put me in a bed with a guy who's already annoying the hell out of me. It's just one of those things where it's like the self-control you'd have to not brutally murder someone is beyond me.
Oh, especially when he starts clearing his sinuses.
Yeah.
But that was obviously Steve Martin's breaking point or Neil's breaking point. He hops up and he really just lays it on Dell. And Dell just looks like a little puppy dog that he's yelling at. He's just like,
that rant is endless. I mean, he just keeps going and going.
Bam.
Brutal.
I didn't pull the clip for that because I have one that I'm going to play later that I think is more important. But he goes on for a while. And John Candy looks genuinely rattled as he's saying this stuff to him. It is very mean. Yes. And the way John Candy's face just sort of melts and he does so much with just his facial expression in that scene is so good.
You don't have to say anything. Just the whole, he's just got that sad, like puppy dog, like a child, like just got scalded. Just like, man, I'm just trying to help you out, dude. And you're yelling at me because I'm, trying to make myself comfortable.
Yeah. And when he does finally retort to Steve Martin, it is it's very good. I like me. My wife likes me. And that's when you really you can kind of start looking past all these little things that he's doing that he's just used to and doesn't really think about.
Yeah.
And that's when the emotional aspect of the movie really starts to kick in.
Yeah, because you even see Neil Martin's character. He you kind of see it. He puts his hat back. And he's like, man, I was
The amount of self-realization.
He's like, I'm gonna put my hat back. I'm gonna go crawl back in the beer bed and go cuddle it with this big lovable guy that gave me a place to stay.
Well, also he has nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's kind of
Go sleep
completely
down in the
desperate at that
lobby.
point. Yeah, he could go lay in the lobby on the floor. It's pretty much his only option. So,
and he was doing that all through the airport. He was seeing the guys just
folding
up their jacket and
laying
corner on their briefcase and sleeping on the floor. So yeah, he knows he's in a situation where it's either this or something worse.
Yeah.
So,
but then we get the scene where Josh said was cut out about the pizza guy. We get, because I didn't know it was that. I just thought it was some kid that Jimmy the lock and
no way that switchblade would open that lock that way, by the way.
No, that's not how locks work.
Nope.
Yeah.
Aside from the stuff they didn't know happened to them overnight, it must have been a good night's sleep because they wake up in a little bit of an awkward position.
They look pretty cozy.
They were so tired. It's cold outside. You just want a nice warm body to snuggle up to.
And Dale is a slob, dude.
The one thing about him that kind of gets me is he's a chain smoker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's gross.
And yeah, I mean, all the shit in the bed. I mean, it's a little of the fat shaming sort of stuff they were used to back in the 80s.
Oh, look at them. They're so cozy. It's Josh and Eric.
They really don't go to that well much, though. Like,
no, they don't.
Like,
he kisses his ear.
Yeah.
Dell.
Oh, here.
Why did you kiss my ear? Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows.
Now, the reason I wanted to play
Those
this
aren't
clip,
pillows?
watch Steve Martin.
His physical acting is amazing.
yeah, full body shivers.
And this right here.
See that Bears game last week?
Kiss the
Hell
Bears.
game.
Oh, we're so manly now.
Oh, Bears. Go Bears. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that's a good, like, that's just funny. Like, that doesn't seem
Yeah.
problematic to me at all. That's just like their fragile manhood,
Yeah.
on display, and it's hilarious.
But I had to rewind it and watch it again because I was laughing so hard at Steve Martin's arm movements. I was like, I didn't even pay attention to what John Candy was doing, which probably could have been comedy gold, but I missed it because Steve Martin was doing snake arms. That shit was hilarious.
He had spirit
Yeah.
fingers, dude. Like,
But after that, he goes into the bathroom and starts washing his face and wipes it with John Candy's tidy whities. Yeah, that's
oh, the best thing is though when he does wash his face and he smells his fingers
Because the socks are in the
and he looks
sink.
down. Oh, by the way, take my socks out of the sink. And he goes his face and it's the big, huge Fruit of the Looms, man.
we already kind of went
morning.
past the shower scene, but the fact that he dries off with the washcloth,
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Yeah. And now he's washing or drying his face with John Candy's whitey tighty.
So the other thing I did find a little weird watching this is the calls back home to his wife. It feels like she thinks something weird's going on when he doesn't really seem to be putting that on at all. There was actually a subplot in this that was cut out where she was convinced that he was having an affair. And
That would make sense.
and Dell was, quote unquote, Dell was who he was with, but she thought he was having an affair.
Well, she can't believe he's still in Wichita.
Yeah.
Who would want to still be in Wichita?
Right. So we go to the diner and they're having breakfast. And this is when they realize they don't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Steve Martin goes on a tirade. It's like, and I can understand because of the situation they're in. Maybe he felt bad about what he said to John Candy in the hotel the night before, but now you've got $700 missing out of your wallet. Like, yeah.
I mean, he
This
has no reason to think someone broke in there.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's a reasonable.
Yeah, he's sharing
Yeah.
a room with a stranger, somebody he just met, and he's like, I don't know you. But then Dell, I mean, you see him, he's die hard. He's like, hey, this is how much money's in my wallet. And if it's $1 off, then I'm a liar.
Right.
Pretty much. And then he opens his wallet, it's gone. So you're like, well, hell, we were both robbed. But yeah, Steve Martin is just, he's harsh, man. He goes from, hey, we're cool to you're a fucking thief in like a second. I mean, there is no middle ground there. He's just cool to I'm a total dick again. To Dell.
And if you listen to that scene, you'll hear Steve Martin say that you went into my wallet to get pizza last night, right? That conversation is still in the movie, and there was no way they could get around that. So, again, this movie that seems very, perfect when you watch it, when you hear about the stuff that was cut and the things behind the scene, you start to see those little things.
It'd be really interesting to watch the full version, although I think I'd have to watch it in a few parts. But
yeah,
that would be fun to just get the backstory on little things and little extra threads, because it's still great.
Yeah,
maybe not as good as like the final cut version, but yeah, it would be fun to see some of that
and
stuff.
we forgot to mention the switcheroo with the credit cards at the hotel also.
Right.
Yeah.
And somehow John Candy just keeps getting lucky and Neil keeps paying for everything.
Literally, he
again
pays for
so
everything.
desperate to get home that he's willing to fork over whatever he's got to do to get home.
Well, you see his house. I mean, he can afford it, and Dell clearly doesn't have as much money as him. It's part of his way of, feeling like he's helping, I think, because Dell has all these connections,
I'm glad you brought up the house because it looks like the Home Alone house.
It really does. Yeah, it really does. It feels like this movie could
really does have
exist
that
in the
feel.
same universe as well.
The only thing that makes me think it's not is there's no roundabout thing in the driveway.
Yeah,
I
with the
looking
little
for
polo
it.
guy.
Like, yeah, I was looking for it. I was looking for any reason to be like, that's the fucking Home Alone house. But I don't think it is the same house, but it definitely looks like it. And it's
in the same neighborhood.
It's next
Gotta
to
be.
It's in the same John Hughes universe.
There you go. But then again, after all this, because Dell has sold shower curtain rings to everybody across the United States, he gets a hookup with his buddy Gus on a train ride. Wichita, Kansas looking old Chevy farm truck pull up, and then his wife gets out. She might be short and skinny, but she's tough. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. It is funny seeing them, Dell and Neil, encounter someone that makes both of them uncomfortable. Like they finally get a moment where they both look at each other like, oh my God, like look at these people. Like finally they're bonding,
And you just waiting to hear the banjo music here. But ding ding ding.
And we've talked about cat scares in previous films.
Yeah.
Yes. Now we
This
get a dog.
Another horrific moment, or into like that dog scare is good. Like that is a good scare.
Well, they managed to get in the back of the truck without disturbing the dog.
Why would there be a dog?
He reaches to move the hay.
Yeah. You disturbed his sleeping space, so now he's going to jump up and bark.
He wants the gloves because he left the gloves in the beginning of the movie. He's had no gloves the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right. He did. And then they're riding in the back when they're riding. He says, "Oh, what do you think the temperature is?" About 1. And then you see Steve Martin's frozen face.
I love it, dude.
Comical makeup of the frozen, and the dog is still snarling while frozen.
But they make it to the train, and
they get to the train, and this is where Steve Martin decides it would be best if they part ways.
Yeah, he breaks up with him.
Yeah.
And John Candy again looks like he's just been broken up with.
John Candy has no one. He has no one.
He's looking for some sort of companion to do something with. It's great because it also gives Steve Martin that building character as well. He gets on the train.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would this ever really happen if a train broke down? Like, is this protocol?
Yeah, but y'all just wander out here across the field and drag your bags, and there'll be a
mile
truck
down
to
the
pick
road.
you up,
I mean, maybe
to a bus.
Like, I've never really thought about that. Like, I've never traveled by train before, so it's more popular across the pond. But like,
I would love to go.
What is the protocol?
We didn't have to get out in the middle of the night, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I've
been on some trains and gone through like countryside, and I guess if it broke down and they could have buses come nearby and you just walk to the bus and they take you to the nearest something, that could happen, particularly in 87 in the Midwest somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not happened to me.
This movie deals with travel, obviously. Well, there were many travel companies that wanted to have nothing to do with this movie. They didn't want their airline or bus line or train lines because of all the problems that they have traveling, because that's the worst thing you want to use for, they try to get on American Airlines, and this person was dick. The lady that's at the Hertz rental place lost their car. You don't want your business spread out across that. So what they had to do for this movie, because of the train company, they just had to come up with some faux company names, slap them on there, and they had to rent 20 miles of train track to film that scene, because they wouldn't let them just use their trains. They had to rent that segment of train that track to do just that scene.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, no big name companies wanted to have anything to do with this movie, because they're like, well, we don't want it to look like we suck at our job, because Dell and Neil can't get to where they need to go for Thanksgiving.
But Neil sees Dell struggling with his big ass trunk, and he feels sad for him.
Did anybody else notice that they're carrying this trunk
Upside down
the
for the
entire
whole movie?
Yep.
Really bothers me.
Until the end, when they're getting home, they have it right side up. It's almost like a metaphor.
Josh just went deep.
Metaphors, you say?
Their world was upside down.
But we finally get to St. Louis on our fun little bus ride that nobody wants to sing the songs that Neil knows, but they will sing the Flintstones that Dell will sing.
I didn't know the song Neil
No,
was
I
singing.
didn't either.
I didn't know it either, but I know the Flintstones song. Okay, we're finally to St. Louis, but remember, they have no money. So we get the nice cutscene of Dell and his awesome salesman skills is now selling shower rings as earrings to the girls. Tell them that they're new designer earrings from somewhere. And one time, I don't know if y'all are big into baseball, they were saying this is a new Daryl Strawberry.
Yeah, Daryl Strawberry reference.
Earring that he would wear in there, because he used to wear these really big earrings back then. So I was just like, but we see Dell, he's trying to help. Again, he's trying to get some cash for him and Neil to keep going. You know, they got to buy food, they got to buy rooms, and because Dell has been adamant through this thing, dude, I'm going to get you home for Thanksgiving. Let me help you. And that's what he's doing what he can. That's what he knows how to do, is sell shower rings.
He does a good job of it.
Well, then they go to get some food. And this is where Neil breaks up with him again.
Yes.
It won't take his money.
Yeah, he says it's easier for one person to travel than two people. I'm like, I don't
get that at all. Unless you're fighting for the last seat on the plane or something.
Well, he's
I mean, or
I don't know, dude. I'm trying to think in that time, like, you've only known misery with this person. There's really no reason to travel with him at that point. I mean, I don't know. I don't fully understand where Dell's supposed to be going.
Well, that's the thing. Remember when they're eating, he talks about getting home, and he says, I haven't been home in years.
What they dropped that in there.
That's the first time I was like, whoa. Hey, I mean, like I said, first time full watch, and I'm like, whoa, did he just say what? But then he plays it off. That's not really what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and I'm like, you know what? Honestly, truly, when he said that, I'm like, I had this idea of like, is he carrying around his wife in that luggage? I'm not kidding you. I immediately went
that
horror
theory still holds.
Myself.
Hold on now.
Yeah, I'm like, well, yeah, it could be, but I'm like, it's her body.
I love
in there
that theory. That is
talking
interesting, because we never see inside the
oh
case.
My gosh, we should recut this.
Imagine the film with her in the case the whole time.
What's in the case? What's in the case?
I love it.
There you go. But immediately when he said that, that's kind of what because he keeps talking about his Marie, his wife, and how much he loves her, how his wife liked him the way he is and everything. And I'm just like, but now he hasn't been home in years. I'm like, what'd you do? Murder your wife and stick her in the case? And that's why you haven't been home. You're running from the police.
Well, at this point, Neil thinks he's going to get a car and just drive home. Like, there's no reason to stay together at this point. So,
yeah.
He goes and rents a car.
And the car's not there. And what is the deal with this music that kicks in? This like weird hip hoppy music with all the record scratchy stuff. It's like as he's like falling down the snow and stuff. Like I could do without that. I don't know. That was weird. And that sequence goes on forever. And it's all of a sudden got this like weird hip hop, but like dance music.
Well, this won't be the last time music gets brought up. I'll just go ahead and put it at that now.
It seems though that a mistake that like couldn't get made. Like, why wouldn't the bus wait until the one person who got off like found their car. I don't know. Like maybe I just think people are too courteous.
Yeah.
But he has an amazingly awesome freak out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was in the trailer earlier when he throws the suit. I mean, that's great. That is the best parking lot
And
tantrum
then you get him
ever.
running again as well.
Yeah. All to make it to the counter to try to rectify the situation, skipping everybody.
Yeah.
Who's in line.
Because he's Neil and he's important. And then we get please say you got this clip pulled, Josh, of the rental
like
car
I was
scene.
saying earlier, I didn't pull that clip of the conversation in the hotel because I thought this one would be more important to pull. So here we go. This is the clip of Neil at the rental place.
No, Mom's gonna do the turkey.
So
yeah,
nice.
Dad wants ambrosia, so I guess we gotta get those miniature.
First off, this is really
I'll do the crescent
rude.
rolls.
Yeah.
She's just taking a personal call while she has a line of people.
Dude, that lady.
I love this lady.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble gobble.
If you look, I have gobble gobble written underneath this. His face.
I know.
His facial
Welcome to
expressions in this
Marathon. May I
movie
help
are
you?
golden.
Marathon car.
All right, here we go.
Yeah,
Here we go.
You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile off your rosy fucking cheeks. Then you can give me a fucking automobile, a fucking Datsun, a fucking Toyota, a fucking Mustang, a fucking Buick, 4 fucking wheels and a seat.
I really don't care for the way you're speaking to me.
I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of fucking nowhere with fucking keys to a fucking car that isn't fucking there. And I really didn't care to fucking walk down a fucking highway and across a fucking runway to get back here to have you smile at my fucking face. I want a fucking car right fucking now.
I love
May
her
I see
face.
Your rental agreement.
I threw it away.
Threw it away.
Boy,
Oh.
Oh boy, what?
you're fucked.
Now, I counted them, but I checked this. He says fuck 18 times in less than 60 seconds.
Which is a lot for an 80s movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Rob Zombie type fucks in a movie right there.
The thing is, I don't think I've ever heard Steve Martin drop an F-bomb until this movie. And he like used them all up in this one.
And at this point, he thinks that he can just bully his way out of his problem.
Yeah.
He tries it with her, and then he tries it again with the car rental guy, or the whatever he is,
It's
the
a cab
valet,
guy.
or
Oh, no, the
caddy
cab, the
guy, and
cab.
He punches him out.
Here's my hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take. Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take.
As iconic as this scene is, and this is really the scene people probably most would relate to this movie, I feel like Steve Martin is overreaching it a little bit. I don't know if that's the word.
It's a little much.
Just like,
There's a lot of
maybe it's because I see him as so wholesome most of the time, and I haven't heard him do a lot of that in movies. But it seems like he's forcing some of those, like, can wipe that fucking look. Like he doesn't say fuck naturally. Like if you're just gonna cuss somebody out, you'd be like, you can give me a fucking car, or fuck, like you know, like
he's no Samuel L. Jackson, is what you're saying,
right? He's over enunciating it, and it just seems foreign coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just more of Neil being a dick in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, which I think Neil's not good at that too. You know,
Right.
like he's too stuck up. He's too, you know, he can't really be tough.
Well,
he's not a tough guy.
His stuck upness gets the best of him here because he goes out to try and get another cab, and this dude's not having it.
Dude, this is my favorite quote in the movie.
You're going to need a bigger quote.
You want to do the taglines for this movie first and then get to some fun quotes?
The taglines for this were, what he wanted was to spend Thanksgiving with his family. What he got was 3 days with a turkey.
Oh, too long.
Pretty good.
Too long.
The other one is pack in the laughter.
Oh, I hate it.
Those are the only two that I found that were worth a thing.
Yeah, I didn't find. I found something. The tagline I found was actually not even regarding their characters' names. It was Steve Martin had no reason to panic until John Candy came along.
I thought that was
back in the
like
laughter.
it doesn't even pertain to the.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Not even
so
using
I
their
didn't even write
character
that one
names.
down.
Yeah.
But my favorite quote, because it's right here where we're at, is like the guy's he wants to get a cab from where are they at, St. Louis all the way to Chicago. He says, what is that, a joke? And I love what Steve Martin or Neil says, if I wanted a joke, I'd follow you into the John and watch you take a leak. I was like, that is freaking awesome.
Losing it.
Yeah, he's mean.
That's my favorite one.
That is a good one.
I mean, but at the way he said it, I mean, it was just like fluid, just like
Eric already
right
said
out.
one of mine, but the $6 in my right nut says we're not landing in Chicago.
Yeah,
I like that one. Anybody else got one?
I got some. I like when Del, after getting dressed down in that horrible rant, he says, "I'm the real article. What you see is what you get." I liked that. And I like when they're in the back of the truck and the dog's growling at Neil and Del yells, "Give him the goddamn gloves!" At the dog. He yells at the dog.
Jason brought up another one that I like too. It was the what do you think the temperature is? 1?
1.
That one's pretty good.
Just had that nice comedic pause of 1. Jenny, do you have any?
I don't even know what he says in it. Like,
well, that's not going to work then.
Yeah, I don't. It's just his reaction is so good.
We're about to get to this one, but I also like. I've never seen a man get picked up by his testicles before.
Or when he it's in the same area as when you remember, because basically Dale almost runs him over with his car. Because he got a rental car, which I kind of wonder if it was the rental car that Neil was supposed to get.
You have to wonder.
Good one.
But because remember, he used his credit card.
Yeah.
Remember later. So, but when he's because Neil's knocked out on the ground because the freaking cabbie guy punched him right in the face with the whole dick joke. And then Dale looks up at him and said, "Are you going to help me or stand there like a slab of meat with mittens?"
It's a good one.
And then we go to what Josh just said. The next scene is because they're in the car finally, and Steve Martin is talking like this the whole entire time. So that would give a good reason to talking about 3 octaves.
Another one that we passed and you brought up earlier was her first baby came out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing.
Nothing. Those are some pretty cool little quotes for this movie. I mean, shoot, we had a couple movies that didn't have that many quotes, but this one actually had quite a few little one-liners in it.
But we're at the part where the guy punches him and picks him up by the testicles. But when he hits Steve Martin, we've talked about his facial expressions and his physical comedy, and this is another one. When he hits him and his eyes just flutter for like a solid 30 seconds or something, and then he falls over. It's so good. I'm always laughing at his physical comedy.
Yeah, it's so silly.
Yeah. So good.
There's another one that I'm going to bring up later that gets me every time as well.
Is the car they're driving, I know it's a Chrysler or something like that, but is it not a smaller version of the vacation car? It's the green and
the same
brown
color scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you notice, they're kind of zooming in on the car as it goes by, and I mean, immediately I'm thinking, are they trying to do a little throwback to Vacation?
It's still the John Hughes universe.
Hughesiverse.
The Hughesiverse.
It's the Hughesiverse.
When they get in the car and they're driving, I forget who's driving first. I think it's Neil. And but John Candy's playing with the seat.
Yeah.
It's funny, but again, like enough to make me want to murder someone.
Yeah, he's still annoying. Like, as they become friends, he's not going to stop being annoying. He's annoying.
And then they end up switching, and Steve Martin says, "I'm going to put my wallet in the glove compartment. Don't let me forget it." Who would put their wallet in a glove compartment at this point? After all the shit you've been through. But I mean, really, would anybody at this point in what's happened to Steve Martin so far, would you even consider
Never.
taking your wallet off your person.
I think he's
would never
just
do it.
not capable of rational thought at this point.
I don't know. He's thinking rationally about wanting to split up and all this stuff. Like, it just seems so out of character for him to take his wallet. I mean, he doesn't have any money in it. I guess there's not really. If that credit, the credit card is the last thing he's holding on to. If that was the last thing you had to grasp on getting you home, I would be holding on to it for dear life.
Yeah,
but
it's a stupid thing to do.
I love John Candy in the car while Neil's sleeping though. And his little piano and saxophone solo on the dashboard.
Yes. The dashboard piano is awesome.
Yeah.
We've all done it. We've all done it. You jam out some, like that, or air drums to freaking, Phil Collins and stuff like that. We've all done stuff
dashboard.
like that.
And the reason I brought up smoking earlier is because this is a key point in where we get with the car. He flicks the cigarette out and it goes in the back seat, which is where all of Neil's stuff is, by the way.
Yeah.
All of Dell's stuff is in the trunk it's in the trunk strapped to the trunk of the car.
Dell's wife.
Yeah.
Dell's wife.
Yeah, my new theory is Dell's wife.
It takes a long time for this cigarette to do any damage, though.
I know. It takes quite a bit.
Yeah, because we get Dell his trying to take his jacket off and he keeps getting hung in the seat adjustments.
The whole sequence starting there where the jacket gets caught is hysterical. I mean, that is just pure, like, insane madcap comedy at that point. It just goes crazy. And the stuff that maybe you don't relate to as a kid of the adult life and dealing with tickets and that kind of stuff. This stuff you'll laugh at. A kid would laugh at this stuff. This is just like basic hilarity.
And stuff like this is very synonymous with John Candy in a lot of his movies. The little, oh crap, I'm caught on something, or like it gets drug across the lake all of a sudden and great outdoor. But that's what he's known for, is like he's stuck in a predicament and I don't know what to do, and then but the whole thing where he drives it. I mean, he's good at driving with his knees that go off the exit ramp. And when he finally breaks loose, dude, that freaking multiple 360s of just spinning. And Neil just kind of slowly wakes up.
Yeah. I love how he plays it off. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm good. This car has the worst alignment in history, too. I mean, he barely takes his hand off the wheel and it goes that far over into the other lane.
I mean, it's kind of a piece of junk, but yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
At no point did he consider just slowing down and pulling over.
No,
right.
You have to remain like going
That's not
35 miles an hour in the snow at night.
Yeah, just hit the brakes, bro. But then when he gets himself righted, because I guess he wasn't paying attention, he's actually entering the highway from the exit ramp.
Yeah.
You're going the wrong way.
That's he's going back the way you came, and then you get the people next to the people going the right.
Have you guys ever driven down the wrong way on a road before by accident?
I have.
And like encountered like another car coming at you and you're like, wait a minute.
I haven't personally, but one time when I was in high school, my mom and I took a trip to Atlanta. We would do like a summer shopping trip sometimes, and there's a lot of one-way streets in Atlanta.
Yep.
And we went down one of them the wrong way, and there was a car, and they did not seem very happy that we had to turn around.
Yeah. The only one I ever did was in Pensacola. One of the first bands I was in, we were playing a show over there, and a friend of ours, mine and Josh's, Scott, was with me in the truck, and I had all the band equipment, and I've never been to Pensacola. And I go to turn left, and as soon as I did, he wasn't paying attention, and then he starts hollering at me, "Wrong way, you're going the wrong way." And I'm looking at cars are parked this way. So I actually stopped and backed up in the middle of Pensacola and went the right way. But yeah, it's a very frightening experience when you realize you're going the wrong way.
I've been in a car where someone did that, and it was at night, and you start seeing headlights and they're getting closer, and you're like, wait a minute. Yeah.
I did have someone come down the wrong way towards me once. It was here in town. I don't. I have no idea where they thought they were going, but I didn't realize it because you're really not looking for cars to be
No.
coming towards you.
Yeah.
And by the time I realized
No.
it, I had to stop really quickly because it just didn't register to me that this could be happening in real life.
Yeah, I love when they say, "How could they know where we're going?"
Yeah.
Where we're going. Yeah, you're going the wrong way. Well, how do they know? You're going the wrong direction.
And John Candy's response, he's drunk.
He's tipsy.
I just like he says, these guys want to race.
You know, when they pass between the trucks and their skeletons.
I love that
and
scene.
John Candy's the devil. Just
Devil,
like,
dude.
just completely bonkers.
My favorite part of all of it is at the end, though, when the car finally stops and you cut to Steve Martin and his fingers are embedded in the dashboard. And then you look at John Candy and the steering wheel has been folded over because he's pushing on it so hard.
Yeah, all that cartoony stuff is so funny.
The cigarette finally catches up to
fire.
them.
And them laughing at the car is gold.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know if Steve Martin says anything, but when he is reacting,
His laughing,
to the car on fire, it is brilliant. Like all of his motions and facial expressions is the best.
It reminded me a lot of the scene from the Money Pit when Tom laughs when the bathtub falls to the floor. I mean, it's still Steve Martin's a great comedian, but that's still my favorite. Just laugh at some shit that just you got to laugh at it.
I still remember the first time I saw the Money Pit and that scene happened. I was hurting. I was laughing.
I remember asking my parents to rent the Money Pit. Like they had to tell me like no sometimes because I'm like, let's get Money Pit again, because I just thought it was hilarious when I was a kid.
But yeah, that the reaction between Candy and Martin right there, where they're just like, what else could fucking go wrong? The damn car's on fire now. But then we get them driving down the road.
They get to this motel and salvaged what they could of Steve Martin's wallet, and it's either now or a little after they get out of the office. But John Candy's, this is another one that I'd actually wrote down for quotes, but I didn't say anything about it because we're here, is the afraid to look at my ass, I might have girdle marks.
Yeah. Felt like a Whopper.
I just like it. I just like it when they get there to get out of the car. Steve Martin has to peel his fingers off of the steering wheel. It's like it's just glued to
sticky.
it from the melt. It's either was it melted because it's sticky, or it was because they're driving and it's cold.
No, I think it's because it's
I couldn't figure.
still
It's either
warm.
one.
Because he goes
Still
to
warm
touch
and
the
it's like
handle
stick-
on the car and it's like hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, still hot.
That's crazy.
Well,
So-
when he does bring Dell into, because Dell's gonna freeze to death outside in the car.
Yeah.
I love that sequence where they just enjoy each other for a while.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
getting the mini bar and they're eating some Doritos and they're just like hanging out. And that's such a nice
Amaretto and Doritos.
Yeah,
Well, he
they go
had the
into the
tequila and
different
Doritos,
countries.
so that
Yeah.
was a good.
Want a taste of Mexico?
Well,
Yeah.
even the monologue that John Candy has in the car before Steve Martin sees him talking to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kind of wanted to get with everybody here. Like, it really didn't hit me that his wife was dead until right around here. Like, I wasn't putting the clues together. I wasn't picking up on the I haven't been home in years stuff. And I remembered from the first watch that there was some sort of emotional beat that it hits, but I could not for the life of me remember what it was this time around.
Oh, really?
And that's when it kind of clicked for me. And I was like, oh, wait, his wife's not with us anymore. And that's when it really hit me. And I think that's when Steve Martin really starts to see what's going on with Dell's character.
Or is she?
Yeah, I actually wrote down what he says in the car when he's talking. He says, "Well, Marie, you were right as rain. I am without the biggest pain in the butt that ever came down the pike." And I was just like, and then he goes into talking about every time I find somebody that I'm interested, I suffocate them. Like he goes too hard.
He suffocates them and puts them in his trunk.
I guess so.
The collector.
Yeah, he's the collector. He's collecting road weary victims. Drives them insane and then keeps their heads in a trunk or in a duffel bag in the trunk.
Well, Steve Martin says something to him when they're bonding over their liquor and Doritos about, well, you've got a good wife at home.
And they toast to the wives.
Yeah, and John Candy kind of has this look on his face.
Right.
But
If you don't know
when
it by then, you.
Yeah.
But that's when you really see the moment where Steve Martin has actually said, you know what, fuck it. I'm opening up. This has gone as far as it has. This what am I going to lose by just,
being nice.
Yeah. Because he even says it. He's like, this feels like, why do I feel like this is summer camp?
Yeah. I mean, he's also drinking too and loosening up. And they've been through so much together. They've bonded at this point. He knows he can trust Dell at least. Like, when it comes down to it.
And then they get up the next morning. They're leaving. The car is stuck.
Mhm.
And of course, if it has anything to do with Dell driving the car, I mean, like I said, first full-time watch this thing, and I'm like, is he going to drive the damn car to the
gotta
hotel?
rock it
And that's
gently.
exactly what happens. Bam!
Steve Martin comedy, physical comedy again.
His
him
face.
sliding, trying to push that car,
Yep.
and then when the car actually
Yeah.
goes through the wall, his face is golden.
Mhm.
I should have just pulled pictures of Steve Martin's facial expressions for this so we could talk about him, but his facial expression when it goes through the wall, dying laughing, dying. I missed a quote earlier, and this is a good one. And he says, Neil says that Dell is a unique individual, and he says unique. Is that Latin for asshole? I like that one a lot.
And since they
That is
didn't
good
use
one.
a credit card to get the room, they don't
They
know who they
bartered
are.
with their spare change
So
and
unless
watches.
they can track his watch, they're not finding out who just ran through their building.
We learned you cannot get a room
No.
with a Casio.
Ain't gonna cut it.
Casios just won't cut it. You're not gonna
Casio
do
and
it.
$41 would get it for you.
Yeah. I just love the shot that they're headed down the road and you see how fucked up this car is because now it's like daytime and it's
Right.
burnt
It's
to a
insane
crisp.
that it is a
And they're
working
just-
car and that the radio
Yeah.
still works. for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah, we find out when he gets pulled over. What was it? How fast were they doing? 73,
78, I think.
73 or
How
78?
fast are we going?
Something
I don't
like
know. The
that.
gas gauge is melted.
I love his explanation.
the speedometer is
that
melted.
the
He's so calm.
yeah, the
he's telling
gauges
him.
do not work.
He said, yeah, they're not working. But if you're telling me, then you're probably right. Yeah. I just like he's agreeing with the cop. He's not trying to be an asshole, or nothing, but and he tries to appeal to the cop's better side, which the cop is obviously in a lot of movies.
Michael McKean.
that we've all
Mhm.
seen
Yeah.
too. I mean, yeah.
Which-
And he looks over and said, "Hey, I'm just trying to get my buddy home for Thanksgiving." And you think, I'm like, "Oh, is that going to help him?" Next thing you know, bam, car's towed. They're sitting in front of
Yeah,
the
no, you
courthouse.
can't. That thing's not street legal. You can't drive that around.
Yeah, you can't drive that car. Where's
This
your
is,
mirrors?
This is another scene that was cut down a bit too. There's another shot in the trailer that shows Steve Martin talking about that they're just a jolly
right.
bunch of whatever. I don't forget what he says in the thing, but it's longer. And apparently, what happened there is they've just been driving and they don't know where they're at. They don't know how long they've been going. All of that stuff, and they overshot Chicago. Like they drove past Chicago.
Oh man.
So the cop was like, "You're way like," so it would have added another layer of just insanity to this whole thing.
Mhm.
But they ended up cutting that out,
shit.
and
That's something that has happened to me.
oh really?
Yeah, I was driving with
It's happened to us.
Yeah.
I was driving with some friends up to Tallahassee and going up 75 on Florida. And I took a nap, which is a drive I made often because it was back and forth to school.
Mhm.
And I took a nap in the back seat. I wake up and we're in Georgia, like just past I-10, just kept going right into Georgia. Yeah, like 30 miles into Georgia or something. Wow. I had to turn back.
But Michael McKean was in this movie for a little bit longer, but a lot of his scenes were cut. And with him, that's probably our last little appearance of a likely star. So we can go ahead and do Almost
I
Famous.
think there's one more, but let's do it now. Let's go.
Almost Famous.
I know that dude.
I don't know them.
I know her. Haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name? That guy who was in that movie that was out last year.
So Michael McKean, if you saw any movies, comedies in the 80s and 90s, you probably saw him in something. I don't think he would really be our candidate, or the top candidate for Almost Famous. But Jason brought up Dylan Baker earlier, which he's from Trick or Treat, all kinds of stuff.
Television, tons of television, all kinds of movies.
He played Dr. Connors in Spider-Man 2 and 3.
We should just call this segment the Dylan Baker segment. He's the perfect example of, he's about as famous as you can get without being like a household name. Like he's in everything.
Well, I wrote Kevin Bacon down just because he's in a non-speaking role for 2 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, but he's
Right.
Kevin Bacon, dude. He can't be almost famous.
You got little baby Matthew Lawrence in here.
He's a baby.
Yeah, that's the one I was
Yeah.
going to mention. I guess he has shown up earlier in the film, but
Yeah, he's one of Neil's kids.
Joey's little brother.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady.
Edie McClurg.
Yeah.
Edie Claire.
Yep.
She was
Ferris Bueller, Elvira.
she was in Natural Born Killers, Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
And her first role ever was in Carrie. She was one of the girls that picks on Carrie.
Whoa. That just blew my mind.
Wow.
That just blew my mind.
And she did lots of voice acting. Lots.
That makes sense.
For cartoons. Lots, bunch of Disney
Did anybody notice the clerk in the motel that they just left was the lawyer from Jurassic Park?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a good one.
That's Martin Fierro. A lot of Home Alone people in this too.
Larry Hankin,
the guy who was the taxi driver.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He was the cop eating the donut in Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
he was also the
He was also in
Breaking Bad. And he was also the alternate Kramer in the Seinfeld episode where there were like analogs
Yes.
of them.
And the old guy on the plane.
Old guy.
Oh yeah,
Was
that
in
guy's
Home Alone.
Yep, definitely.
Oh, all right.
She's got earrings, dangly ones, a whole shoebox full.
From a mother.
Well, even his wife, what's her name? Susan, but Leia Robbins.
She was in.
She's in The Boys.
She was in 16 Candles.
She's in The Boys
the old
too.
guy's wife in Home
Oh
Alone.
right, The
Sorry.
Boys. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Homeland
And Blacklist
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kid who steals their money is Gary Riley. He was in Summer School and Stand By Me. Remember Chainsaw and his buddy in Summer School? He's the blonde one.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
you also had an appearance from Ben Stein.
Yeah, Ben Stein.
Yeah, I got him, and he's the airport
announcer.
Tell them that they're flight.
Air porn.
Air porn.
Air porn continuity. We're going to have to start a little glossary for all of our fans here.
All of our fans.
Yeah, all 36 of them.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Kate.
Everybody say hello to their mom and Kate. And
Our
Mikey
tens
and
of
Karen.
fans.
And Rachel.
But yeah, I would definitely,
Hey, Jennifer.
definitely say Dylan Baker would probably be your guy here. Because I've seen him in all kinds of stuff. He's managed to stay just that guy in the background of so many movies, even nowadays.
Definitely. I mean, what an awesome career in my brain, because I would never want to be famous, to be able to be like a working actor in that many different things for so long and to never actually be like a celebrity per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. All right. He reminds me of another actor. And I
Wesley
I can't
Snipes.
think of his, he's the guy that's no. Yeah, he looks just like what's the guy from Shameless?
William H. Macy?
Yeah, if
He
you look at
looks
them,
like
he's
him.
like a poor
Yeah.
man's
Yeah,
William
yeah.
H. Macy.
Yeah, they
That's
both
what
look
it
like
is.
Midwestern dads.
Yeah, they're like they could kind of play the same characters.
Dylan Baker would be to William H. Macy what not Tom Hardy is to Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking in my head. You said it.
What's his
Got
name?
I don't
Something
know.
Logan Green. or
Logan
something.
Green, Logan Marshall Green.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Larry
He's now and forever not Tom Hardy.
Okay. Well, so we're going with Dylan Baker as our almost famous winner.
I'd say so.
Wow, that's like it's the first time we've had like a unanimous
Absolutely,
decision
Bill
on
Hader.
that. But Dale comes to again. He's got a buddy with a truck that he knows, and they're going a straight shot
At
to
least
Chicago.
it'll be warm.
At least it'll be warm.
Yep. And where are they at? The back of a cheese
Dude,
truck.
that cheese would be gone if I was in the back of that truck.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jenny's love of cheese for 10
No, I
minutes.
really love cheese.
So-
That cheese
and,
would be gone.
They would be light a couple of cases.
They get to Chicago and they're up on the
They
train
make it.
platform. They're there. They're in Chicago. I mean, but they hauled all that up from the, I guess, ground level. I mean, I've never been to Chicago, but I know the trains
Elevated,
they're up
the
in the
L.
air.
Yep.
Yeah. The L. So they're out there and they're saying goodbye. Man, that's kind of a little emotional moment too between Neil and
It's like
Dale
Sam
right
and
there,
Frodo,
'cause
man. They've made it.
Yeah.
Frodo Baggins.
That stupid hobbits.
Wow. Josh, that was impressive. That was
A
good.
little Gollum from time to time.
You should do an entire episode in Gollum.
Oh, God.
Do the intro for us, Josh. In Gollum.
You put me on the spot. Man,
He can't do it.
That stupid hobbits. Welcome to the VHS Files, it's my precious.
That was good.
Somebody get that man a Ricola. There we go.
Y'all, we've really gone off the rails
A
here.
little bit.
Yes, we have. Oh well.
Woo. Steve Martin gets on the train and he's remembering, like, he's thinking of fond
Thinking of
things,
his
his
family.
family, and he's going to get to see him. And then he realizes Dell doesn't have a family.
Yep.
He's been so selfish the whole time. He
Yep.
never realized.
Put two and two together.
Yep. And so he takes the train backwards.
This was a weird thing for me because it's almost like he made the train turn around.
It comes on the same side of the platform. I don't understand.
It's like he would have had to have gone that whole train circuit and come back. And what are the chances Dell would really still be sitting there?
And nowhere else to go.
He's waiting for the next. Yeah, he's waiting for the next quote unquote.
Yeah, it would
meal.
be funny if he came back and saw Dell getting on a train with another guy.
Yeah.
It does feel like the end of like a
fucking
romantic
asshole.
comedy here. Like he's coming back. He doesn't want to. He's going to lose her forever, kind of a thing. And he's at the train station, and he's got to catch Dell because he doesn't want to lose him.
Yeah, and he actually admits there that Marie's been dead for 8 years in that box. Rotting
in that box.
Got lots of potpourri in that box, because we all of our moms and grandparents all had potpourri in their house. They just shoved a bunch of potpourri.
Maybe
in
some
Smelled out.
car air fresheners, like the pine trees or something.
Yeah, little pine trees.
But then he's like, "Come on, you're coming to have Thanksgiving dinner with us." And this is the shot where it shows them carrying the thing
Trunk.
right side up.
Yep.
And
the trunk.
And we've joked around
side up?
about it throughout the episode, but I'm like, it's weird that I was
Yeah.
kind of following that
Yeah.
throughout this, and it's like until you get to this point, the trunk is finally right side up. Whether that actually means something in this movie, I have no idea, but I find it kind of interesting.
Yeah, I noticed it was upside down, but I never had that thought that it was metaphorical, and I think it has to, I think it probably is. I think that's a great little thing you noticed there. And he comes in and he meets the family, and at first I was, because I hadn't seen this in a while, and I'm thinking, do they know who this guy is? But I guess he's called ahead. They know.
Well, yeah,
she already
that's-
knows his name. The wife already knows his name and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another part of the stuff that was cut in that subplot with him possibly cheating on her, is he was always telling her that Dell was, he didn't like hanging out with him. He was only helping, with him to get there. And she kind of saw that as his kind of cover for the affair he was having. But when finally they walk through the door and he says, "This is Dell," she kind of has her realization.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of see that in her performance in that shot too, because you can see her worries fade away a little bit.
Yeah, it is an
Like-
emotional reunion that, it does feel a little heavy without all that other stuff that was cut. Because you don't see
if you
much
notice,
other than he's just running late, you know?
Yeah. And something else that was cut is like Neil and Del also get in an altercation. If you look, John Candy's got a black eye.
Yeah.
Right around the end of the movie.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
And you never see where that came from. It was a part of a cut scene where he and Neil actually got in an altercation and Neil hit him.
That's the biggest continuity error in this.
Mm-hmm.
In this is that black eye. And
yeah,
I guess when I saw
I remember seeing it and I thought it just sort of showed up out of nowhere.
I just thought, oh, they've just all they've been through. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he got and fell down. I don't know. I never really thought about it. I don't know.
No telling.
Well, even without he's possibly cheating plot line, it would be very nerve-wracking to know that your spouse or significant other was somewhere trying to get home to you and you haven't heard from them on a regular basis.
But this was the 80s. I mean,
yeah,
you weren't in touch with people like that.
I know.
Yeah.
And people were
now
pretty
we're
much
so used to
yeah,
it.
now it's like he would have been able to get. He does only seem to call her like once a day, and I know this has been cut down, so that's why. But it does seem like he calls and they're at the play or whatever, so she can't answer, and it's like, well, just call her back in an hour, or why didn't you call earlier? This,
yeah, because he knew she was going to be at the pageant because he said, I missed my daughter's pageant.
He didn't want to talk to her.
So yeah,
called Ben on purpose.
So here's where I'm going to get into my actual theory about planes, trains, and automobiles.
Okay.
So what if Del is Neil and Neil is Del?
You told me this the other night.
What if Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is the comedy version of Fight Club?
This is not Fight Club.
Come on, dude. Really? Like, there's reason to believe it could be.
No.
Like,
wait,
Del is everything about himself that he wishes he could be and kind of comes around to that at the end.
No.
Come on. There's got to be a little bit of a...
No.
Well, I guess I'll go fuck myself.
I like it, Josh. I like it.
I like
it.
Thought,
I don't think that it holds up, but I like outlandish theories like that. Like the wife is in the box, which could actually work.
To be honest, I'm jealous because that makes a little more sense than the Fight Club thing.
Yes, I made Josh jealous. Woo! But see, her body might not be, but it could be her ashes in an urn in that.
That would be less creepy.
True.
That would be less murdery.
And he's carrying her around because, it'd be less murder. I like it that her rotting corpse is in there, and that's a little more horror movie style. A little leather face there, but I think he's carrying around her ashes with him as he's basically traveling and meeting new people. He's taking her on the road.
Well, they've got the opportunity to do this horror movie style because, they're remaking this with Will Smith and Kevin Hart.
Really?
It's a disgrace.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Oh no.
It's been in production for a little while, and I think COVID kind of put the halts on it. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about, and it's even on IMDb, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, it's already up. It's happening.
Okay.
It's a real
Don't
thing.
remake movies that don't need to be remade.
Right. So
how does this movie happen nowadays? Because there are cell phones.
Right.
It honestly, exactly. And also that having Will Smith and Kevin Hart, like, it sounds like a joke. Like, if you were going to make a joke about remakes, you know what I mean? Like, that would be like, if you're just making it off the top of your head. How about a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Kevin Hart and Will Smith?
Yeah.
It just sounds too on the nose and obvious.
It's almost like they're going to make fun of the movie is more, but it would be cool if Steve Martin showed up at some point in time.
So who's going to be the annoying one and who's going to be the cool one? I mean, Kevin
That's
Hart
what
would
I'm
have.
saying. Well, obviously,
never mind.
Kevin Hart is the
never mind.
annoying
I
one.
I just answered my own question. Never mind.
This is where Josh would usually ask here at the end of the show, is it worth a remake or whatever? I don't think they should remake this. I mean, I know they are, but like I said, this is the first full walkthrough movie where, like, I've been through this movie. I don't.
Well, the question I usually ask is does it need a remake? Do we need a remake of this? And I don't think we do. I mean,
no.
we are in modern times where things are going to be different, and I think that's really what would hurt it if you decided to remake.
It'll
it.
be
Like,
so
you introduce-
different. It'll be the same in name only and concept.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really going to be, you know what I mean?
Now, a more modern movie that I would say, if you like planes, trains, and automobiles, you might like this movie that Jenny and I watched on Netflix called The Long Dumb Road, and it stars Jason Mantzoukas and Tony Revolori. He was he played the lobby boy in Grand Budapest Hotel. And it's him going off to school, and he picks up Jason Mantzoukas. Jason Mantzoukas fixes his car breaks down, and he just sort of hitches a ride to the next town with him, and the next town becomes the next town. And it's in modern times, but it still kind of it's funny, but it's also got a very serious tone to it. And it doesn't
more serious than this.
Yeah. And it doesn't, you're always constantly waiting for something bad to happen in this one, and they don't always do that. And I think that's pretty interesting about it. So
it's a good movie.
If you like this and you are looking for something that's on a little more on the serious side, I would suggest checking out The Long Dumb Road. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah, there's this, because like I said, it's the first time through. I mean, a movie like now that reminds me of this movie was it Due Date with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis?
I only saw it once. I don't remember anything about it.
It's kind of like that, where you have a guy that's easygoing and one that's kind of an asshole.
Right.
And that's kind of the roles they play. That's kind of like a modern day version of this movie.
For sure.
So.
And Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Tommy Boy. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Roads.
Oh man. So we typically would say, is this worth a rental? But we've kind of found a little bit of a problem with that, because we're pretty much going to say, yeah, all these movies that we watched are worth a rental. We figured we'd give ourselves a little more depth to it. We're going to kind of change it up a little bit and be like, buy it, rent it, forget it. So with planes, trains, and automobiles, you're buying it, you're renting it, you're forgetting it. Jenny, how about you?
Buy it. Classic.
I mean, I have it in my collection. Even though it's not something I saw as a kid, I think it's definitely worth having on your shelf to revisit. I mean, it's one of the only Thanksgiving movies that's centered around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we should watch it more.
It's
for sure.
Is it the best Thanksgiving movie? How many Thanksgiving?
It very well. Well, there is Thanksgiving.
I don't know. I was going to say it's right there with
I
Thanksgiving.
really like Dutch.
Yeah.
Oh, Dutch
for a
is
Thanksgiving movie.
Well,
personally, I saw that one as a kid.
I forgot Dutch was I forgot that was a Thanksgiving movie. Ooh,
they're very similar.
I don't know. I love Dutch, man. I love me.
Well, guess who wrote it?
Fucking John Hughes.
Fucking John Hughes. Yeah, we'll be talking about Dutch on the show at some point. I love that movie, and I would love to talk about it.
Little
On
baby
here.
Ethan Embry.
So, how about you guys, Eric, Jason? Eric, you go
it's
first.
It's a buy. It's a
Go ahead,
classic. Eric. It's a buy for sure.
Jason, what do you think?
I'd say buy it. Like I said, first full watch for me. I like it. It's not too bad. I mean, it's not my favorite Steve Martin or John Candy movie, but I would definitely buy this.
Cool. Well, let's get to our good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
We're also doing something a little different here. We're going to play this a little fast and loose. We feel like we may have been throwing out a little too much negative about the movies we've watched so far with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to throw out whatever we think is good here. It's not just going to be one particular thing. Whatever you think is good about this movie, we're throwing it out there for you. And then the bad is whatever the bad is. And if you want to say something that's ugly about the film, by all means, go for it. But it's not something we're going to require. It all kind of falls into the same category. So we're playing a little fast and loose on this from this point forward. But I'll go first to kind of start out. The best things about this movie, the good in this movie for me, is Steve Martin's physical comedy. John Candy just being John Candy. And the actual camaraderie between the two of them. Even though they're at each other's throats through this whole movie, I think the pairing is great. It makes this movie so good. It's two very unlikely people pitted against one another that works. And it makes it so good. The bad, and really the only thing I could point out that I think is bad or even ugly about this movie is the soundtrack. The music in this movie is god awful. God,
Oh,
that the cover of Every Time You Go Away that plays at the end when they get home
It's really bad.
is so bad.
I do love the freeze frame John Candy smile at the end, though. We kind of
Yeah.
didn't mention that, but it's a nice ending because you get some happiness for a sad dude, so it's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Jenny, how about you? Good, bad, and the ugly.
Same good for me. Steve Martin's facial expressions are just comedy gold. For me, the bad is going to be that Steve Martin's just a little too mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could pull off a successful, disgruntled traveler without him being so cutthroat about Dell.
He could get more cutthroat towards the end of it because at that point
but
you're
he
past
goes in
yeah.
hard and fast,
Yeah.
and it could build up a little.
Right. Eric, how about you?
Well, my good is
Show me your goods.
You got the goods?
I'll show you my goods. It's the leads, same as you guys. Obviously, these guys are in virtually every scene together. They're hilarious together. My bad is the hip hop music, and I have an ugly when the old man coughs in his face. Just like
Comedy in the time of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Doesn't land the
germs.
same.
Scary.
Jason, good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, me being the only person out of everybody that really didn't watch this movie a number of times, what I took from it, I mean, besides Steve Martin and John Candy, like you guys have all touched on, they're both great actors. Sucks John Candy's not with us anymore, other than Josh sitting right there. And Jenny doesn't see it, but oh well. But the movie's got a good message. I mean, it definitely, like with Steve Martin, he misses his family and everybody like that, especially when people are away from far distances away and trying to get back home. But the message is like, don't let the bad times get you down, like kind of right now, because it could lead you on a new adventure or maybe open your eyes to some faults of your own. So, it's always a good lesson to learn. You never know where a bad time may lead you to something great and fantastic. So, and that's what happens to Steve Martin in this movie. But the bad in here, maybe they could have put some of the edit that they did of the long cut that they had in here to fill in a couple of the little holes, like with the pizza guy, stuff like that. That's really about it. I mean, that's nitpicking. It's actually a pretty good movie. Like I said, I kind of wish I would have saw it more as a kid than having to wait till 43 to watch it all the way through. But that's really about it. I wish there were a couple extra plot holes could have been filled in. Not plot holes, just extra scenes that could have given you a better idea of what was going on. Like John Candy with the black eye, and why did the guy come back to rob him? Some little things like that. But I get it. It's still a great movie.
Yeah, Jenny and I are big fans of longer cuts of movies.
Yeah.
And some of our favorite movies, like That Thing You Do and Almost Famous, have longer cuts that we think improve on the
Empire
movie.
Records.
Like Empire Records has a longer cut.
You looking for that Snyder cut, bud?
No.
You're not going to watch it?
No.
Yes, you are, you liar.
I have no.
You are
I have
gonna watch
absolutely.
it. You're gonna
no
have it on
interest
4K.
In any of this DC stuff. I really don't. I mean, I'm over it at this point. They announced Wonder Woman on HBO, and I don't even care. Like I'm past it at this point.
I want to see it.
I'll be watching it.
I'll watch.
I'll be watching it.
At some point, I'll watch them.
I liked
but
Wonder Woman.
It was okay.
I did. I thought Wonder Woman was a great movie. It's a Christmas movie. I'm going to spend time with my mom watching because my mom loves Wonder Woman, and now we can sit at home on Christmas Day and watch some Wonder Woman.
I like that so much better than going to the theater on Christmas. I'm sorry.
That's true. We spend the day at the theater. Shoot, I used to get up when I lived in South Florida and we'd go spend the day at like Disney or Universal Studios. So, and eat Chinese food because everybody else is closed, but the Chinese restaurants were open.
Well, that's going to do it for our discussion of planes, trains, and automobiles. This was a fun conversation. I can't wait to do some more comedies like this. And speaking of which, next week, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yes. Kicking off
We
Christmas
start our Christmas
right.
segment.
Yes.
We're going to be bringing you guys Christmas movies all throughout the month of December. And then our New Year's Eve episode, or actually it'll come out on New Year's Day. New Year's Day will be Die Hard. So we got to have Die Hard in the Christmas seasons.
Wow. But if everybody listening to this today, while we're recording this, is a Thanksgiving week. We hope you all had a great Thanksgiving with your family. I hope everybody was safe. No COVID for anybody else. And hold on to the people you love. You never know when they're here, when they're gone during these times. Be thankful to one another.
And I want to give a shout out to our sister in California, Kate, who listens to the show religiously.
Hey, Kate!
We love you, Kate. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey, Kate.
And the day that this is coming out is also the birthday of our very good friend and listener, Rachel. We want to say happy birthday, Rachel.
Happy birthday, Ray Ray.
We love you. Thank you for always listening and supporting us. We hope you have a great day.
Yeah. Array. But that'll do it for us tonight. You can catch us back here next Friday talking about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And until then, be kind. Rewind. Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
It's over.
It's over.
Hey, it's over. Get the fuck out.
You've been listening to the VHS Files Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks, you've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos!
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative!
Thanks for listening. Who the fuck would...
This episode is going to be cut more than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was.
Let me go ahead and unzip my pants here and get myself comfortable. I'm good.
I'll drive over. I'll drive over there myself and do a tutorial to learn how to take it out.
No.
What the hell is going on? We have to cut this. I will not allow this to see.
Josh has a hairball.
Sorry.
Listen, I don't want to look for how much a pizza was in 1987 anymore because I've been doing it ever since.
Oh my God, you
trying to
actually
have a conversation
did it? I
at the same
was
time.
kidding.
Ricola!